Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Gaming here, back in another video. Today's episode, I wanted to quickly go over my cell frames. I made a video back in season 2. Apparently, that's a little bit outdated. I think cell's gone through a bunch of different updates since that last video, so I want to make an updated video just on my frames specifically. We'll kind of go through some of the options. So if you want to kind of customize your own frame, you can do that. But if you want, I'm going to leave my import in the description of this video. You just copy and paste the import in and you will pretty much have my entire profile. Now there'll actually be 2 imports. There's also going to be the season 3 targeted spell import that you have to do, which comes from Quasi WoW. We'll leave a link to that and we'll cover that in this video. I actually do not even have that imported in this character right now, so we'll do that together in this video as well. That being said, let's go ahead and get started. So if you don't have the add-on, just go to CurseForge, download the cell add-on, install it, and then load into the game. Once you have it installed, you press enter /cell space OPT for cell options. Press enter, and you're gonna get this sort of crazy looking menu here. So let's just kind of start from general, and we'll just kind of work our way across. And once we get to indicators, that's where we'll do our spell import. So right off the bat, you're gonna see we have hide Blizzard Party, hide Blizzard Raid. Highly recommend to hide those 2, or you're going to be seeing multiple frames at once. We also have a place down here in nickname, right? You can come in here if you want to create your own nickname, right? Just to kind of show you what that does. It'll change your name in the UI if you do want to mess around with that. I know some people like that. There are some other miscellaneous options over here. I don't really mess with those, like faster health updates. It says it has high CPU usage. It says experimental. I don't mess with any of that, but for the most part, this is what I keep my settings to. You can copy that if you want. You come in here and play around with it. I don't do too much in the general tab. So let's go ahead and move on to appearance. So appearance is where you can kind of start to customize things. Okay, so now we're in the appearance tab. Not too much in this first block that I change. I just kind of keep all that set at as is. If you want to change some of your button styles, though, you could change. I was going to change the background of your plates, right? So we can come in here and change it to charcoal. You can see it changes. I like to use the smooth setting myself. And then we also have some settings so you can change your health bar color. So I just like to keep it as class color, right? That's going to be the blue. And as it's populated to different classes, you get their specific color. They have a couple different options like class color dark. You can also set custom colors, different thresholds, A, B, C, right, where you get the green, yellow, the sort of stoplight colors as health goes up and down. And you get kind of a good preview over here on the right of what that health bar is going to look like as their health does adjust. So some people do like that as well. I personally just like the class colors, so that's what I keep it at. Then we also have a preview down here on the bottom right. So we have the red and the white. So the white is going to be like friendly shields, like a power word shield from a priest. And the red is going to be the heal absorb. So there are a lot of heal absorbs in Mythic Plus dungeons. So highly recommend to have some sort of way to track that. Cell has a great way of tracking it. So on this specific profile, the profile that you're going to import, it is red with these sort of diagonal lines. So yeah, you can go around and change some of those settings if you want. We also have debuff type colors, and I don't think this specific screen shows that. Yeah, here it is. You can kind of see right here under the indicators tab as it kind of goes through, like, so that's a disease, that's a magic, that's a poison, that's a bleed, and I can't remember what the purple is. What's the purple? A curse. So it'll kind of give a border around your character in that specific color, and that's just going to say, hey, this person has a magic effect on them. They have a bleed effect on them. They'll probably require additional healing. So very important to have that as well, because it helps you indicate who's taking a lot of damage and what you can dispel. Another thing that's very important here is click casting. So click casting is going to allow you to, target these different frames, right? If I want to left click on somebody and target them, that's how I personally have it set up. I think by default, it's not set up like this, but in my profile it is. I cannot remember how it's set up by default, but you want to make sure that you're coming in here and make sure that these are set properly. So the way that I have it set is a left click on a frame is target, right click is a dispel, and then my middle click is an earth shield. Now you can set that up for whatever. If you're a priest, it could be power word shield, whatever. But this is going to be the tab where you set up those specific Click castings. Nothing really in the about tab that we need to worry about. Next we have the layouts tab. Now this is actually a pretty important tab here. Try to drag it over a little. So this is kind of where you can customize your frames a little bit. You can add some width, right? We can widen it if we want. You can add some height if you want, and kind of set that specific to your monitor. But what's really important about this, more than all of that, is these profiles over here on the right. So you can see right now we're in the layout of Mythic Plus keys. We have a Mythic raid and we have a normal heroic raid, and we also have the default setting, which is like the solo setting. So you're going to need to come in here, and unless you import my profile, then you're probably fine. But if you're kind of customizing your own profile, you have to come in here and set your settings based on what type of group content you're going to be doing. And your profile is going to adjust based on that group that you're in, right? So say you're in Mythic Raid, right? Or just a normal heroic raid. You might want smaller frames than you have in Mythic Plus. You can kind of see my Mythic Plus setting, just how big those frames are, right? And you can see in normal heroic raid, how much smaller the frames are, right? Because getting 25 frames or 20 frames, whatever, this big will take your whole screen. So that's something to look at. You'll need to customize those, and then you'll need to assign it, right? So just because you come in here and change the settings under normal heroic raid doesn't mean that anything's going to happen. You have to assign it over here on the right. So when I'm solo, I like to use my Mythic Plus keys profile. When I'm in party, I like to use my Mythic Plus keys profile, which is 5-man content. And then any type of raids, I just use the normal heroic raid profile that I've set and customized. And you can take this actually a step further. You can go down here and do PvP as well if you want. And you can also do it by spec. So if you want different profiles based on the spec that you're playing. So a lot of different customization options that you can kind of work through. Okay, moving on to the indicator settings. So I'll leave a link down below to the Quasi WoW page that you get this from. Just go down to the section that talks about targeted spells. I believe it's a Dropbox file, and just copy and paste the text in the file. Now you need to be careful because I think the hotkey is Control-A to select all the text on the screen, but you need to be careful because sometimes it will select like the header of the file and other things like blank white space by accident. So you want to make sure you're not doing that. Then you want to come to the indicators tab. You're going to go down to targeted spells, and you want to press this import button. So a lot of the stuff that you see right now is from like season 1, season 2. So now I'm going to import the season 3 spells. I'm going to Control V, and there they all are. And then I'm just going to press import, and now I have all the targeted spells. So we should probably cover what a targeted spell even is. So a targeted spell is going to be this icon here, and this is basically telling you that a party member in your group is being targeted with a hard-hitting spell. All these spells are hard-hitting mob spells, and if they target a member, it's going to pop up on the unit frame like this and say, hey, you might want to give this guy some attention because he's about to take a big hit, and you can prep a heal before they actually get hit. So very, very important to have this on. This is probably the most important part of this entire indicator setting. But there's a lot of different other things too. I'll just kind of go over what I use because that's kind of what I can speak to. There's a lot of other things on here that you can kind of play with. So we have, and again, this is going to be a way where you can kind of customize the little things like within the frame itself. So like the text, the size of the icons, again, like aggro borders, dispels, debuffs. You can kind of customize the way all that looks. I hope that makes sense. We'll kind of work through it here together. So first thing here is going to be name text, right? If I want to make this bigger or smaller, here's the options to be able to do that. We also have one for role icon here. So, if somebody's a tank, a healer, or a DPS, right? And you can kind of go through here and pick what you want those icons to look like. It'll put a little icon up here in the top right. Excuse me, I have it in the top left over here. We also have the leader icon, so who's the party leader of the group. It'll show a little crown in the top right. We also have the ready check icon to see who's ready in the group. If the leader does a ready check, we have an aggro border. So if you take threat, you can kind of see here in the red, That means you have threat and you're in immediate danger and the tank needs to taunt off you. We also have one for tank active mitigation, which is this bar right here behind the Chaos Bolt icon that you're seeing. And I can't remember exactly what it all is. A good example that I like to use is Protection Warrior. Their shield block, and I believe they're... Oh, up here you can kind of see. We have Demon Spikes, Iron Fur, Shuffle, Shield of the Righteous, Shield Block. I think there's another one for Warrior. Okay, it's just Shield Block. That's going to tell you if they're using their mitigations. You don't have to use this, but I like to use it because when that bar is up, that means my tank is a little bit more safe than when the bars are not up, which means I can focus on healing other people. It also gives me a good indicator that my tank is actually playing their spec properly. And if they're not, if I'm not seeing this bar, that means I'm going to have to either say something or give this guy a lot more attention than normal. I like to play with it, completely optional. You can disable it if you don't like it. And then here is kind of what we were talking about earlier, the dispels. You can kind of see if it's a disease, if it's a magic, a poison. You can kind of see this gradient sort of coloring here. And this is going to make it very obvious that you have a party member affected by one of these magic effects or one of these effects. So I really like this. One of the main things that I like about Cell is the coloring scheme of the bars, or of the unit frames rather. It does a great job of indicating who's taking damage. Okay, up next we have our debuffs. So your debuffs are going to be up here in the top right. So let's just use PvP, for example. If you get a Curse of Agony on you, you can kind of customize. You can kind of scroll down. This is a blacklist, which you're seeing here. But if you scroll down, you can see you can change the size of these icons and exactly how you want them to look. For me, they display in the top right, right above the party leader sort of crown here. We also have targeted spells, which you talked about earlier. You can kind of customize that. Again, to customize it, you have to scroll all the way down here below this giant list. Below that, we also have missing buffs. You can kind of see it glowing here. If for whatever reason you have somebody in your group who forgot to get their buff out, it will warn you and say, hey, reapply Mark of the Wild, for example. Same thing if you're playing Shaman. If somebody dies, they run back, they will instantly warn you, say, hey, this person lost their Sky Fury buff. Go ahead and rebuff them. I love it. One of the great things about Cell is just it gives you a lot of information, right? And then down here at the very bottom, this is going to be your buff list, essentially. And the healers tab down here at the bottom is not going to be anything that you have to import or anything. This is just going to be here for you by default. If you kind of scroll down a little bit, you can come in here and get some options to change the sizing of your buffs. So a buff for me, for example, is Earth Shield. I'd come in here and change this value to like 25, and you can see how much bigger it got. Now, I do have one more thing that's very, very important for us to discuss, and it's the layout profiles that we talked about earlier. So as you make changes to these different indicators, you have to make sure that they're changed on the specific layout that you want them to show on. So if I came in here and I changed this size up to 55 for whatever reason, right, it would only take effect in my Mythic Plus group. So it would not affect any of my ratings. So you got to make sure that if you are coming in here and making changes, that you're making them to all the profiles, right? Now, one thing that's really nice about this is Cell does allow you to copy these. So you can copy these to a new layout. So just for example, I can press copy here and I can copy my Mythic Plus keys layout to my raid layout. I can select the ones that I want and press copy, and all those settings get moved over. Now, I'm not going to do that right now because I have this set up how I want, but it's a quick and easy way to do that. Then we also have the raid debuffs and the utilities tabs. I don't ever change anything here. When you update the add-on, you should get this updated for you automatically. This is just going to be more debuffs in specific dungeons, but you can't come in here and look at some of the things that you're going to have to heal through if you want. But again, this is not going to be anything that you have to import. It should be here for you automatically. So yeah, that's pretty much the end of this video. I think I covered pretty much everything. Again, if you import our profile, you're not going to have to go through any of this mess or setup. And it's going to look just like this. One other thing actually I do want to cover is if you do want to move your cell frame around, and I think it's like this for everybody, but if you hover in the top left, there's this red box and you can just left click it and move it around. That's how you move the frame. You can't actually click on the frame itself to move anything around. So anyways, that's the end of this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. See you in the next one.